Speaking of getting the hell out of here, that's what Daniel Jones might be doing after this season with the Giants. Remember, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option. On the brink of free agency, they had him and Saquon Barkley. They wanted to sign Barkley and tag Jones. They couldn't get Barkley signed, so they signed Jones and tagged Barkley. The Jones contract basically commits the Giants to 2 years. There was a lot of chatter, though, in the advance of the draft that really got started 4 weeks ago yesterday, that the Giants wanted to move up and get Drake May and have their heir to Daniel Jones. Everyone heard it. Everyone knew about it, including Daniel Jones. Here he is from yesterday on his reaction to the noise about the Giants looking for the guy who would take his place.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't fired up about it, but, I think that, it's part of it at this level, and like I've said, but, what I can do is focus on myself and getting healthy, playing the best football I can play, and that I know I'm capable of playing. So that's my job, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm focused on playing the best football I can play, and I'm always motivated. I'm consider myself, a really driven guy, and I'm always going to work as hard as I possibly can. So, it's part of it, but I'm fired up. We got Malik, and looking forward to getting to work.
Yeah, hey, look, of course he's not fired up about it. He knows what's going on, and I think that part of it was warning shot to Daniel Jones, putting him on notice. This is it. It's up or out. You're getting paid good money, but after this year, that's when the Giants can escape the contract, and by all appearances, unless he plays like he did in 2022, with an indication that it's not a fluke, that he's here to stay, that he's reached a higher level of performance that they can truly trust, he'll be out after this year. And frankly, there may be others who are out after this year if Daniel Jones doesn't turn it around. But they did the smart thing. Instead of giving up extra assets, moving from 6 to number 3 to get Drake May, they got Malik Neighbors. They got somebody that can help Daniel Jones hold on to his job. With Saquon Barkley gone, they need something at the skill positions to help Daniel Jones do enough to keep himself around and maybe the coaching staff around, Charean.
They're going to get the best out of Daniel Jones. I know that. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and I don't know what the best is. I guess it's what he did 2 years ago. He's got to stay on the field. And the problem is, Mike, you worry a lot about certain injuries, head injuries, back injuries, and neck injuries. And those don't get any better with time normally. And you saw what happened with Leighton Vander Esch having to retire because of his neck injury. He retired this offseason. So you do worry a little bit that he's had this history of neck injuries. He had one last year, missed 3 weeks, comes back, and then tears the ACL. So you do worry a little bit about that neck and staying on the field. And that's what he's got to do. He's got to stay on the field for the Giants and think back to what made him the quarterback he was 2 years ago and get back to that. And if he does, the Giants could be another one of these surprise teams that we're talking about. I don't expect much out of the Giants. Las Vegas doesn't expect much out of the Giants. I don't think anyone outside of that locker room expects much out of the Giants. But again, internally, they should be talking about that. They should be talking about the Super Bowl and being one of those teams that surprises people this season. They have an opportunity to do that. Just what we're saying. It goes back to the quarterback. How good is he going to play? If he plays well, everybody's going to keep their jobs. Everybody's going to be happy in New York. It's going to be a successful season. Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback beyond this season. And if he doesn't play well, there's going to be a lot of changes with the Giants next offseason, a ton of changes. So this is a make or break, not only for Daniel Jones, but a lot of other people in that organization have a lot riding on how Daniel Jones plays this season as well. But staying on the field is number one for him.
One of the surprising aspects of this offseason, as it relates to the news that gets reported and doesn't get reported, when Drew Lock signed from the Seahawks with the Giants to be the backup to Daniel Jones, 1 year, $5 million contract, that's how it was reported. And we know that pretty much every contract, when the agreement happens, the agent leaks to somebody who then grabs the phone and engages in the thumb race on X to try to beat the other 3 or 4 people who got the same text about the deal. And part of the understanding, the when in Rome aspect is you pump up the deal, you make it look better. So it wouldn't have been reported as 1 year, $5 million. It would have been reported as 1 year up to $8 million, because we've seen up to doing a lot of work this year in order to make these deals look better than they are. And the Drew Lock deal is worth up to $8 million, but it wasn't reported that way. It was reported as 1 year, $5 million. It's like they didn't want the incentive package being out there for people to know. And Lock's agents were in on not putting that incentive package for Drew Lock out there. And of course, the incentives are tied to playing. So I think Jones has a more tenuous grip on that job than people realize. At one point, when Lock left the Seahawks, John Schneider, the GM, said Lock has a real opportunity to compete and play in New York, and surely he had an opportunity in Seattle. New coaching staff, Geno Smith, Drew Lock, if he stays there. We saw Lock play well last year in a game that Geno Smith was injured. So, yeah, I think that if Jones doesn't get it done during the season, it's not just a matter of Jones won't be there next year. It could be Jones's ass is on the bench this year, Charean.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I mean, they'll turn to Drew Lock if Daniel Jones isn't playing as he should play. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last season. So he's got to play better than that. You know, they started 1-4 last year, and Jones threw for fewer than 150 yards in 3 of those games. So if he does that, he's going to be on the bench, and Drew Lock's going to be playing. And again, we're hearing the same thing that we heard about Caleb. Oh, Drew Lock looks terrible in practice and blah, blah, blah. You know, calm down. This is just the off-season program, and he's learning the offense. And this is when you need, as you said, Mike, to make those mistakes and get ready to play in the season. So this is not, we don't judge players on how they're playing, or we shouldn't judge players on how they're playing in these practices against teammates when the defense is going to have an advantage anyway. So, if Daniel Jones does what he did last year, he is going to be on the bench. There's not going to be a 1-4 start by Daniel Jones, because he will be benched before they can get to 1-4.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.